Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning's talk is about love, and I think the more I looked at it, the more I realised how underqualified I am to speak on it. So this is just a brief view. If it fascinates you, go home and study it further. There's so much to look at and so much to glean. None of us have been raised in a perfect home full of love. None of us. At some point, parents, brothers, sisters, some sort of home environment has let us down. Some things may upset you, some things you might not agree with. But what is love? It's such an important part of everyone's life. People who've never been loved fail to thrive. And yet, what is it? We all have to give it freely. You can't demand love. It's such a complicated issue, and yet it's everywhere. In the English language, we've just got one word, love. But there's so many aspects to the love, and not all loves are the same, and that's very important to pick up on. I can say I love pizza. I could say I love my dog. I say I love my husband. One word, and yet it doesn't do it justice, does it? In the Greek, there are 8 different words for love. And we're going to take a quick overview on each one. And the 4 of them will appear in the New Testament, and they don't appear in the Old Testament because the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and this is Greek, so that's why. So I'm going to start with Eros. So if I could have the first picture, I had to choose carefully. Eros, the sexual romantic love. Eros is powerful, but it's not permanent. If you watch any films these days or adverts, most of our society is based on this love. It's a short, full impact, but it doesn't bear the intimacy that love needs to grow. Eros is something that will help you fall in love, but it will not keep you in love. It's not wrong. You shouldn't feel guilty for having Eros. But it's got to be in the right context, and it's got to remain pure. It can consume you and get you out of control. It will burn you. People say they fall in love. This is the Eros. This is the thing that makes you, it's like jumping in a river. You can jump in a river, but if you don't know how to swim, you're going to drown. And later love teaches you how to swim. And too many people just keep jumping in different rivers. And they have no understanding of how to develop a deeper love that will remain for a lifetime. It's full in Hollywood. You know, they just are based on just the external. There's no understanding of who they are. It's pleasurable, but it's got to be in God's will for you if you are married. Song of Solomon is full of it, if you fancy reading some of that. The grass is greener on the other side. This is what so many marriages end by. The grass is greener on the other side. Well, if the grass is greener on the other side, water your side.
Yes.
Start watering, start developing, start putting the good things into your grass, and your grass will be green, your side, and everyone will be looking over your fence. It reminds me of a story that Bruce used to tell about the 8-cow wife, how this unattractive lady in a tribe was just left year after year. She never got married. And then one young man fell for her, and he wanted to marry her, and he paid the most that anyone had ever paid for a wife, and he paid 8 cows. And a news reporter heard of it and went to see this lady, and she was beautiful. She had this air around her like a princess. And they stopped and talked to them and said, why? How come you were, just a lowly person on your own to come to this? He paid 8 cows for me. He paid 8 cows for me. That's the most anyone's ever been paid. They valued. They put value into this person. In the Bible, and I've been practicing how to say this, I've been reading and listening to my Bible. King Ahasuerus, it's pronounced on the thing, something like that. It's Queen Esther. He is full of eros. He has got problems. If you read Esther, he is surrounded by beautiful things, gold this and silk that. The whole palace is full of beauty, and his queen won't come before him, and he wants to show her off in her royal gowns and sort of parade her around, and she says no. I mean, who knows? Maybe she had a spot on her nose. Maybe there was obviously a reason she didn't want to appear before the king. So he gets rid of her, and then he asks for all the beautiful women of this land to come, and they all become his wife, and they can only come after a year of beauty treatment. I mean, he is just full of eros, and then they get one night with the king, and then if he likes you, there's no relationship at all. It's just full of selfishness. It's just full of what he wants. It's just full of the external. And this is eros. Another story, Aladdin. Sorry to disappoint you, but Aladdin and Jasmine are still at the eros stage. There is no way, if you carried that story on, that they would stay together. They are just poles apart, a princess to a street rat. They would not be able to understand each other or be able to communicate well. They just wouldn't have. Why is it so many films stop at that point? They just follow the eros, the falling in love, the romance of it all, and then they stop when they do their first kiss, and they stop. And you think, no, it's beyond that counts. That is just the fun bit. The hard work we need to learn about is beyond that. As teenagers, this is a strong one. Do you fall in love with your teacher? Do you have crushes on different people? That's okay, it's all natural, but it's got to be kept in control. It's not something dirty. Don't think of sex as anything as dirty, as long as it's in the right context. It's a beautiful gift from God. Storge. Next one. Family love. Sorry, we had to choose Robins because Nathan had COVID problem. Well, Nathan didn't have it, but at Nathan and Florence's wedding, we had a COVID restriction, so not many of the family were there, which was a bit sad. So I've gone for Robins, and this is a nice big family one. Family love, a bond so strong, a mother's love. I've got a bit of a naughty saying here, but you'll forgive me, I'm sure. You may be the ugliest person alive, so ugly that the doctor actually slapped the mother instead of you when you were born. But a mother's love will see beyond that. A mother's love doesn't care. You don't have to be anybody. You don't have to look a certain way. You are just loved. And there's just no question about it. A mother's love. Blood is thicker than water. See, they say, without Eros, none of us would be born. But without Storge, none of us would live. We need that family love. We need that acceptance from the father and mother. We need it. It isn't an option. We need it. And I'm not saying that we've all had it perfectly. None of us have. Some of us have had worse experiences than others. And that's something that we have to work on. And if you find that there's really deep needs that you have, pray about it. We've sung about how wonderful, how God keeps his promises. He's there for us. He's there for us. We're encouraged to love each other as brothers. Now, I don't know that we all want to love each other as the way we loved our brothers, but it is saying there's a strong bond. It's family love. It makes you secure. If you didn't get it, it makes you insecure. If there's unequal love when you're growing up, that's a big problem. If you think of Joseph and his brothers, that's a really big problem. And all it came from, all it stemmed from, was the father loved Joseph more than any of the others. And such jealousy caused them not only to put him in a pit, but to plan to murder him. This is just based on love. And they sold him. They sold him. Mothers and fathers, we must love our children equally. I'm not saying that you can relate to them all the same, because you do relate to different ones differently. But each child must know that they are loved. It's just the most important part of being a parent. The next one, philia. The love of a friend. The love of a friend. It's like family, but you get to choose. So it's a little bit easier. It's that same commitment to, the same loyalty. And in this society, we don't really see much of it. Perhaps more so between women. Women find it easy to meet up for coffee, to go for walks, to chat. But between the men, it's a little bit more difficult. But I would encourage you to build friendships, to build deep friendships, ones where you can talk about your problems, talk about your successes, to have that loyalty and commitment to each other. I think, all the Gospels talk about just, to bear one another, to talk to talk about your problems and things with each other. It's so important to have those good friendships where you can trust that it will be kept confidential, or you've just got a trust between each other. If you see two guys walking together, it's a lovely scene. It's a lovely scene. David and Jonathan, they were so committed to each other, so committed. He valued that love above the love of a woman, David did. And that's a deep relationship. He knew Jonathan was willing to give up his future, his kingdom. He was prepared to give up his life for David. Care for each other. Have that loyalty. Again, all these different loves, don't misunderstand them. Did anyone watch Elf? Elf? How many Elf watchers?
Yeah, we like Elf.
Elf? Well, what's he called? Buddy. Buddy doesn't understand that there's different loves. So he sees an article for sale and he buys it for his dad because it says, "For the one you love." That's misunderstood love. There's different loves. He wanted to love his dad, and he saw a gift and he thought, that would be lovely for my dad because it says, "For the one you love." That's misunderstood love.
Are we going to get a plot spoiler then?
I'll leave that one to All right.